Hello and welcome to episode 151. I have to look every time. I look before I start the camera and I still have to look again every time. Episode 151 of the Mouses Makes Knitting Podcast. My name is Mandy, sometimes known as Mouse. And today I have two finished objects and very little else. So, two finished objects. We're going to do the draws for the Breezeway and the Yarn Show make-alongs, which finished on the 31st of August. Today is the 2nd, no it's not, it's the 3rd of September. Shall we do that first? Let's do it first. Okay. There were not very many entries for the Breezeway make-along, so I'm going to do that one first. And if you entered that, you have got quite a high chance of winning a pattern prize. I'm going to ask my AI friend to pick a number and then I'll scroll through. Now, there are some posts on the thread that are just chat rather than photograph of a finished object. So if one of those comes up, what I'll do is I'll double check and make sure there is a finished object. If there isn't, I'll draw again. I hope that's clear and I hope that's fair. Do I mean finished object or do I mean a photograph? I think I mean a photograph. Let's just do the draw and see how it goes, shall we? Okay. I'll pause you while I say her name. Pick a number between 2 and 9.
Here's a number between 2 and 9. It's 9.
Oh. Okay, well that's quite easy because I'm looking at entry number 9 and it is a finished sweater. In the poster is Elbtocker. I'll put it on the screen below. I'm going to do this so I remember to put it in. It is kind of a rusty coloured, a russety sort of coloured Breezeway. I'm sorry, Ewan just walked past and that completely derailed my train of thought. 1 second. Sorry, I had to ask him to do something for me. Yes, Elbtocker. If you would like to get in touch with me, preferably on Ravelry, and let me know which pattern you would like, I will get that sorted out for you. Okay. Let's just bring up the other thread. He's very pleased, he's muttering down there. So make sure I've got the end. Okay, so this was for anything that you were making to wear to a yarn show. And same thing applies. If we get a comment that's just words, I'll check and see that there's a finished object. So I'm going to pause you again while I ask her to pick a number. Pick a number between 2 and 25.
Here's a number between 2 and 25. It's 12.
12. And it had to happen, didn't it? It is a word comment. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Right. How can we double check this? I'm probably just going to have to go through and see if I can find. I wonder if actually if I click on, where were we, 12? I'm just checking through to see if this person's actually entered or if she was just... Oh well, that's not going to work. Let's try that one. Sorry, this isn't very interesting for you to watch. Shall I pause myself while I finish doing this? I can't find an entry. So if I'm wrong and the person who made that comment contacts me, we'll see what we can do. But I'm going to draw again. So I'm going to pause you yet again while I call her name. Give me a number between 2 and 25.
Here's a number between 2 and 25. It's 2.
Go all the way back now. Okay, post number 2 is by Crafty Carol 61, who is making a sweater with horses on. No surprise there. It's called the Darla Sweater by Eleanor Mortensen, and she's going to Rhinebeck in it. So I know who this lady is. This is Carol Roy, who has the Swatch This Space podcast. So Carol, if you would like to get in touch with me on Ravelry and let me know which pattern you would like, then we'll organise that. Okay, that was all far more difficult than it needed to be, wasn't it? Okay, moving on. Congratulations, ladies, and I'm glad I don't have to do the spiel at the beginning of the podcast every week about the make-alongs anymore. But I will tell you about another make-along. Actually, it's just occurred to me. I was going to do this later, but I'll do it now. My friend Belinda, who has Belinda's Baubles, I will link it down below, is running a Falloween make-along. I will be joining in. I won't be helping Belinda this time. She's doing it all herself. But I am going to be joining in. I don't know what with as yet. But as you know, it is my favourite time of year and contains my very favourite of my favourite colours. So there will be something, I have no doubt. Right. What next? Finished objects. I'm wearing one. Can you see it? This is the Magpie Tendencies by... I meant to look this up before I started. I think it's Skein-Anigans. It'll all be linked down below anyway. I started this on Saturday the 25th. Was it the 25th? It was at the cast-on party. Where are we? 24th. Saturday the 24th of August I began this, and I would probably have had it finished in a couple of days if it weren't for the fact that I was working on my other finished object. This, there are various things you can do with this pattern. I've chosen to go with the short-sleeved option, and I followed the pattern almost exactly, apart from one thing, and I'll show you the one thing in a second. It's called Magpie Tendencies because it's designed for those single skeins of yarn that we all collect because it's pretty and we fall in love with it, and then we find that we've got nothing that goes with it and we don't know what to do with it. This was one such skein of yarn that I bought at the Southern Wool Show last year. What have I done? Left it in the bag. It is a Knit Pro Symphony Terra, and the colourway is, if you can see that, it's very small, Party Lights. I wasn't sure whether I was going to get what I wanted out of the single skein. I should have trusted the pattern. So I fished out this, which I dyed up to go with a gradient set, Twilight Skies gradient set that I made into a rocket tee to wear at the weekend. Going to the Southern Wool Show this coming weekend. Tell you more about that later. And I didn't use very much of it, so I had quite a bit left over. So I felt this went quite well, and I think you will agree it does. So I've used that for the sort of the saddle shoulder bit and the I-cord neckline and sleeve as much as it is. It's a few rows and then an I-cord bind off. There is an option to make a longer sleeve version, and I may well do that in the future. I nearly went off at a tangent then. I'm going to try and contain my tangent while I show you how much yarn I have left. It is just over 10 grams. So I don't know that I could have got the whole thing out of one. I didn't think, stupidly, to weigh this before I started to see how much of it I'd used. But not very much. It's knit on quite a large gauge needle. It was knit on a 6.5, I think, mostly, with fingering weight yarn. So it is very, very stretchy. But I am beyond pleased with it. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. And I'm going to try and stand up so that I can show you. Shush, 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 shush. I went into my Sean Connery impersonation then. I'm going to try and stand up so I can show you, but I might be very close to the camera, so I'm going to apologise for that in advance. Right, can you see this? Just under my bust is the slimmest part of me. And I wanted this to finish exactly there, and it does. But there is a bit more stretch. I could pull it down if I want to. It's meant to be finished with an I-cord bind off, the same as the sleeve and the neckline. But I looked at the pictures in the pattern, and all the I-cord finished ones sat out. And I didn't want it to do that. I wanted it to come in and emphasise what little bit of waist I've got. So I've put a rib on the end. I just did. I don't even think I counted the rows. 6 rows of rib on the smaller needle, which was a 5.5. And it does exactly what I wanted. So I am very, very pleased with it. The dress I'm wearing today is turquoise, as you will have just seen. I have 5 or 6 of these dresses in different colours, and this will go with a couple of them, but I would like some of these, one to go with every single one. Now, that might seem excessive to you, but all my life, and you will have noticed this with the rocket tee, if I find something that I really like and it really fits me, I have to have it in all the colours. I always just have thought of this as a quirk and possibly excessiveness, but now that we know a little bit more about people and how they tick, when I was at school there was no such thing as the autistic spectrum, but it has become increasingly obvious that I am on it. My boys are diagnosed as being on it, and a lot of the things they do, I also do. So, and that's got worse since, I was going to say since I fell ill and gave up working. But I think it's only got worse because I don't have to hide that fact anymore from, I was going to say normal people. Are any of us actually normal? You know where I'm going for this. So anyway, there will be many, many more of these, as there will be many, many more rocket tees. And I'm sorry if that is disappointing for you, but they will all be different colours. Some will have longer sleeves. Some will be exactly the same as this because this fits perfectly, and why mess with something that works? But I distracted myself. The reason I wanted this is that this has got a vest top. It's got not a terribly low scoop neck. Some of the dresses are lower, but it's got a very low arm side, so it's right down there, and it shows all my bra, which is fine round the house. I'm quite happy to wear them round the house and in the garden, whatever. But if I were to want to venture outside the house, or if somebody were coming round, I'd prefer them not to have to look at my bra. So I wanted a little top that would go over them, not be too hot, because obviously it's a summer dress. Not be too hot, but be warm enough that on a day like today, which has the promise of being warm later, but is a bit chilly and windy still at the moment, I've got something I can pop on, and if I get too hot later I can take it off, and then in the evening when it cools down I can pop it back on again. That was way more explanation than anybody needed to hear. Anyway, would you like to see my next finished object? Since I managed to have got about 10 minutes out of this one, if not longer. So, I have finished, and I know you're going to know what this is if you've watched the podcast. I need to just calm down and slow down. Take a breath. Right. Finished object. I finished my Yarn Mixology Gradient Rocket Tee. I love it. The only issue I have with it, and it's the issue that I have with all my rocket tees, is the eye cord at the bottom flips up. But I was trying to finish it quickly. I would have put ribbing on it. It's what I have taken to doing. But the eye cord was faster. I have changed a couple of things. I have not put in the eyelets. Normally on a rocket tee there are eyelets down either side of the raglan shaping and down the side of the body. I haven't done that because the eyelets are where I get into a mess. So I have substituted left and right leaning increases, and I think it looks really good. It still makes a little bit of a feature of the raglan seam because of the way it's knit, but there are no eyelets, which might take about an inch off the circumference of it up there. Doesn't matter. I've knit this one in a size larger than I normally do because I wasn't sure how much give it would have, because the yarn is a cotton acrylic mix rather than wool. In actual fact, I think I could have knit the size I normally do and then done my usual A-line shaping. I didn't do the A-line shaping on this, didn't need to. The yarn is from Yarn Mixology, and the colourway, as you can see, is Temptation. I bought this cake at the Sodbury Yarn over in April, and I bought another one as well, the Moonstone colourway, and started a breezeway in it, which has been frogged, and that will almost certainly be another one of these. However, I will be a little bit more sensible next time. You knit the tee and then you go back and you put on the eye cord for the neckline and the sleeves. I did not think to save any of this colour and this colour to do that with. So I thought I was going to have to put the end colour onto it. But when it came to it, I didn't want to. I felt like it's an entirely different colour family for me, and I felt like it would take away from this colour, which probably from there up, these are my favourite bit of the fade. So I had a mad idea. And it's worked, but it drove me insane. I'm going to need to take a drink, I'm sorry. Too much coking? I would like to say there has been no coking. Too much talking, too soon in the morning. One moment. So, the mad idea I had was to go into my sewing drawer and pull out sewing thread, which I then chain plied to knit the neckband and the sleeve. It worked very, very well, but it's not something I want to have to do again. So I've managed to match it. I don't know how well you can see this. Fairly well. It's not a perfect match. The burgundy I used is a bit less pink, but I think, let me put my hand in. I think it's good enough, a match. And certainly more aesthetically pleasing to me than having put the very bluey purple on. And then for the sleeve edgings, I just used black on its own. And I chain plied it. I don't remember if I told you that before. To make it an equivalent thickness to the original yarn. As I say, it worked. If I have to do it again, I can, because now I know it works. But I was lucky enough that I had the right sort of colour. It's probably just easier to put some of the yarn by. But I will be wearing this at the weekend, either on Saturday or Sunday. I don't know yet. And on the other day, I'm going to be wearing the gradient rocket tee that I knitted with my Twilight Vibes, that this is left over from. Twilight Skies, not Vibes. Which brings me to the Southern Wool Show. Now, there's a couple of things I want to say about this. Dave and I are going. It is our silver wedding anniversary this year. Dave has put up with me for 25 years already. Well, longer than that, because we knew each other before we were married, obviously. And to thank him for his devotion and not smothering me with a pillow, I'm taking him to a wool show. Am I not the best wife in the world? Please don't answer that question. He is coming willingly. So, any orders in the shop? We're going away for a long weekend. We're not just going to the wool show. We're going for a long weekend. Any orders in the shop, probably from now until next week's podcast, are going to be delayed a little bit because I'm not here to dye them up and package them up and what have you. So just be aware of that. It may take a few days longer than it usually does. The other thing I wanted to say is, if you're going to the Southern Wool Show, I very bravely am going to tell you that I will be upstairs in the main building. There is a coffee shop, restaurant, whatever, upstairs, and I will be upstairs for an hour, both afternoons. I'm croaky again. I'm so sorry. Probably between 1 and 2. I'll probably be there a bit longer than that, and I'll be up and down there all day anyway because I'll need to sit down and a drink. Which leads me to the other thing, but I'll tell you that in a minute. So if you're at the Southern Wool Show and you want to come and have a chat, I'm going to be really brave. You can come and say hello. You can even sit down and have a cup of coffee with me if you want to. I will try not to run away or go, oh, hello, yes, thank you. Which is what usually happens, because I am actually, I know you won't believe this, because I'm here doing a podcast and throwing it out into the ether for the whole world to watch if they want to. I am actually quite shy. Anyway, yeah, you may remember last year for the Southern Wool Show, I hired a mobility scooter. This year I will not be doing that because there was a fire. There was a fire, not in the place that I hired it from, but above where I hired it from. And then the fire brigade came, and very kindly, and as they are supposed to do, put out the fire. But that caused all the water to flow down and into the place where I collect the mobility scooter from. So there is no mobility scooter this year. So I will probably be wobbling around with my little granny walker and needing a lot of sit downs. So if you find me sat down, feel free to stop for a chat. If I'm wobbling along on my walker and looking a bit hot and harassed and as if I might pass out at any minute, follow me for a chat. Don't stop me, just follow me. My friend Sarah is coming, who's a nurse. I don't want to have to make her work on her time off. So I'm going to try very hard not to get overheated and pass out. But the weather is supposed to be warm and it's going to be wet and thundery. So, and I'm going to be wearing wool. No sense whatsoever. Okay. Right. All that's left to do is to pull from the jar for my projects because I've finished what I've been concentrating on. I haven't got any work done at all on my knee-length socks. That was going to be my third. Sorry, I'm distracted because I can hear my older son coming home on his motorbike and I'm wondering why he's coming home at this time of day when he's on late shifts at the moment. I hope he's not just on an overnight. No, he'd have been home earlier. That's not important. We can worry about that later. You don't need to worry about that at all. Right, I need to pull some projects to work on this week. I don't know if they'll be coming to the wool show with me. Because obviously I want to take small portable things. So these might be for before I go. So I'm going to pull a yellow and a blue. I should have explained, as I usually do. The yellow ones are random projects. The orange ones are blankets. I'm not going to pull one of those until I've got far more of the yellow ones cleared. And the blue ones are categories of things. So all the teas are on one list. Socks are on one list, that sort of thing. You get the way it works. I'm down, now I've finished these two, I'm now down to 37 whips. I'm planning, although I might cast on another one of these. I almost certainly will. I'm planning to try and just work it down now until the next cast on party in the spring. We'll see how well that works. Also, as a caveat, there are still some things in there that I've frogged. I didn't bother and go through it all. But this is not one of them. This is actually going to be quite good to take because I've got a lot of plain knitting to do on it. This is the Lumi Cowl, which I will fish out in a minute to show you. And the categories I have got, sweaters and cardigans. That may not be quite so good to take with me. No, it depends. It depends, because I could take one. It depends which one comes out, doesn't it? Should I cheat, or should I get my little friend to choose one like I usually do? I'll get her to choose one, because I could still take something different with me, couldn't I? Right. It's sweaters and cardigans, and there are 6 to choose from. So, let me pause you while I call her name. Give me a number between 1 and 6.
Here's a number between 1 and 6. It's 4.
Well, that's handy because it's right here. I'm going to let you see so you know I'm not cheating. So there's the mitered square, vodka lemonade, Sonnenstunden, and then the next one down is the People's Friend cardigan. That's number 4. And I only showed you this last week. It's this one. I'm more than happy to take this because it's not a big heavy project to cart about. It's knit flat, and I have memorised the pattern, so that's actually quite a good one to take. It's called the People's Friend cardigan. If you didn't see last week, I have this pattern that I inherited from a friend's mum when she died. And I don't know what the name of it is. I have looked extensively on the internet and cannot find the pattern to share with you. It's a King Cole pattern from sometime in the past. Not as far in the past as I thought, because I've just noticed there's a telephone number on here for the photographer, or the company that did the photography for the magazine. Oh, I don't know though. I don't know. I was going to say the area code is a 4-digit number. I don't think that makes any difference. I'm guessing it's 80s. 80s, possibly early 90s. Somebody may have this magazine and know. But that's the pattern, if you can see it. Try not to get too much reflection. And I spoke about it last week because I'd cast it on. Essentially, it's a DK pattern that I'm knitting in an Aran. The original pattern doesn't go up to my size, so that's fine. I've sized up needles to go with the yarn, and it's coming out the size I need. So, that's fine to take. This is going to be the episode with many pauses. I might even entitle it that. I'm going to have a look for the cowl now so I can show you that. It's just as well I paused you. That took some finding because it's not in the bag that I was looking for. I have got it in a different bag and I couldn't find it because I was looking for the wrong bag. I found it now. So it's called the Lumi Cowl and it is by Justina Lokowska. So that's it. It's colourwork cowl, but kind of half of it is just one yarn. The yarn I'm using for it is this one. And as you can see, I've only got a little bit done. This was cast on at a previous cast on party. April or May? So I'm using this for the plain yarn section. Then when I get to the colour work, I've got this colour, which is some of my own hand dyed. I should tell you what that yarn is really, shouldn't I? I wonder what I've done with the ball band. Might be in with the pattern. This is my own hand dyed, and this is obviously Yarnsmith's Merino sock in black. It's fast become one of my favourites. For socks that are actually going to go on my feet, West Yorkshire Spinners is my favourite, I think. But for using sock yarn for other things, Yarnsmiths and then Cascade. And the only reason they're in that order is that this is cheaper than the Cascade. Otherwise they're joint first. This, I don't know which is going to be the background and which is going to be the colour. I think probably this will be the black background and the black will be the colour. If I show you. So I think the black on the green will look best. Oh, I must find the ball band for that. And then the two sections are going to look okay together, I think. So I'm quite pleased to have pulled that. I'll be excited to get on with it. Oh no, something's fallen into the black hole beside my chair. What is this yarn? What is this yarn and why don't I have the ball band? I bought it at the Sodbury Yarn Over. I remember that much. Is it in here? Is it in the ball? No. Sometimes I roll it up and stick it in the middle of the ball, but I haven't done that. Aha! Wait. At that cast on party, I cast on quite a few things and I have put all the things in there. Yes, it's this one. Fox and Squirrel Creations. I'll cover up the price. In jewels. I'm not going to pull it out of there, but that would have been perfect for one of these tops, wouldn't it? Well, that's something that I'll put on my list for the yarn show. A rainbow yarn. I don't know if they're going to be there. I'll have a look and see. Because if they are, I can just get another one of those, can't I? Okay. Let's put that in the bag, actually. And then I will have it to show you next time. Okay, I think that is everything. I've managed 40 minutes out of pretty much nothing, so I'm sorry about that. If you're coming to the yarn show, I look forward to possibly meeting you. If you're not, I'm sorry about that. I'm sure we'll bump into each other at some point. I'm going to go now and relieve Ewan from his waiting for the postman duties so he can have his shower, because he's not very happy with me. He probably has plans for today that I have now thrown into chaos by asking him to wait for the postman. And I'm going to clear up the mess that I made, pulling out most of the 37 project bags, trying to find the right one, which turned out to be this one. And I've just realised I haven't shown you the project bag. This is one that I made myself again. One of my very first bags that I made for myself when I had a bit of an obsession. I get obsessions with things, which ties into what we were talking about earlier. And during lockdown, I did a lot of sewing because I was making scrubs for the NHS. It was a volunteer thing, and I was frustrated that I couldn't help out in any other capacity because I was having to isolate due to being on chemo and other immune suppression. So I was locked down, supposedly not even supposed to be in the same room with Dave and Ewan, but that was taking it a bit too far, for months and months. But I could make scrubs, so that's what I did, because I know how to sew, and I had a sewing machine, and so I got on and did that. And then I got a bit of a sewing thing going for a few months, and I made a load of project bags out of fabric that I had already, because a previous fad was making baby clothes, sewing baby clothes. I don't know why. I don't do fiddly. I don't enjoy fiddly. It came and went. I don't think it'll be coming back because it was fiddly. Anyway, you didn't need to know any of that. So, definitely going to go now. Going to shut up wittering on nonsense, and I will see you, probably see you next week. If I don't panic. It's just that Dave's got some time off. We're going to have been away for the weekend. I don't know what we're doing on other days of the week that he's off. So if there's not a podcast, don't panic. There probably will be. Because I expect I'll want to tell you all about the wool show and he'll have stuff that he wants to get on with at home. So I'm going to say I will see you next week. Ramble, ramble. Until then, bye guys.